Department's Inspector General now investigating whether power was abused when the FISA court approved spying on the Trump campaign. Specifically, former aide Carter Page. He joins me now in a Fox exclusive. What is going on with you? I mean, everybody's talking about Carter Page. They opened up the surveillance because of you, and no one knows who you are. You're this man of mystery. Who is Carter Page?
Well, that's the beauty of it, and that's the way they were able to get so much taken care of, because they had a blank slate, right? They had this fake dossier, and they wanted to, paint a picture on someone, and it's a lot easier to do that against me than, a Russian billionaire who's well known before the election.
So they've accused you of being some sort of, Moscow lover and, Putin butt kisser. And they're saying you're going all the way over to Russia and you're trying to cut deals and you're trying to talk to the powers that be. Is that true?
I've been doing deals in Moscow for, a decade and a half. And working there and
you're
actually
trying to make money over there, right?
Well, actually, I'm also a foreign policy scholar, and I've written a lot about Russia. I actually did my PhD on Central Asia, the political economy of Central Asia.
So you know about the country, and you're over there trying to make deals, and you're giving speeches and things like that, and they open up surveillance on you because they think you're somehow doing something illegal and colluding with the Russians.
Well, again, if you have, similar to the Iraq situation back in the early 2000s, if you have fake intelligence and you're able to sell that to Congress and to the American people, then one thing leads to another, and you have a nice little conflict to get people
Okay,
going.
so they're now investigating the abuse of the FISA court because we know they presented a dossier there which was salacious and unverified. That's a crime. You're not allowed to do that. And we're also learning now that the Obama White House Chief of Staff, Dennis McDonough, was involved in kind of pushing the investigation forward with the FBI counterintelligence people. And Harry Reid was involved, and he was briefed by the CIA director and then wrote a letter to James Comey urging the opening of the investigation. When you were being surveilled, were you talking to Donald Trump? Were you talking to people in the campaign?
I've never spoken to Donald Trump in my entire life. Right.
That's huge news, because the way that the media spins it, you're some sort of central figure.
Well, what's interesting, so they approved my FISA warrant, I believe, October 21st, 2016. The following Friday, I sent a letter to the Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe in Vienna, protesting the election abuses that were being taken against me in terms of violations of human rights. And, a lot of the steps that I already knew that there were.
All right, so you sent a letter, okay.
Yeah. And actually, I forwarded a copy of that on to, several of the people in the campaign.
Okay, so that was the extent of it. Okay.
Well,
you forwarded the letter, afterwards, and, they've never charged you with the crime.
Absolutely. And that's one of the first thing that they see is that this,
Did you ever know that you were being surveilled? Did you ever get like a sixth sense saying, wait a second, this is fishy?
Well, there are a lot of people leaking to the news about this.
And that kind of gave you an idea?
That, gave me a pretty significant suspicion.
Did you change your behavior after you sensed you might have been under surveillance?
I've never done anything wrong in Russia for the last 25 years, or 27 years since I first went there.
So you didn't feel like you needed to change anything?
Absolutely.
So they're saying you're talking to Russians at the Republican convention in the summer of 2016. Is that true?
There were a lot of diplomats at that conference at Case Western Reserve University, and I, said hello to Ambassador Kislyak.
All right, so you said hello to the Russian ambassador,
which is the big news story.
Which is not a crime.
Yeah.
Okay, you are under the microscope. Do you feel guilty for being a part of this surveillance that has now led to a special prosecutor?
I feel guilty that I didn't fight back harder when this first started, 45 days before the election, when the fake news stories start coming out and defaming me. And so part of me feels bad that I didn't do more to stand up for my rights. A lot of things I was doing, such as that letter to the OSCE in Vienna and things like that, were sort of behind the scenes. Whereas this has all been, similar to what you were alluding to earlier, a big media assault
Yeah.
against the
Well, not
against
only
the
a
then
media
candidate
assault,
and then into transition.
not only immediate assault, but if the Inspector General finds out there were abuses on the FISA court, there's constitutional issues at stake with you. Your rights might have been violated. You could be sitting on a huge, huge judgment. Is that true?
Well, I do have a lawsuit, defamation lawsuit against Broadcasting Board of Governors and some of the media outlets that were doing this election interference or responsible for it before the election, and that is my current focus. The other, in terms of the U.S. government, I want $1 from them in terms of their final judgment.
I'd ask for a little bit more, Carter.
Well, I think the media has made so many billions of dollars on this. They should really be responsible for this. These.
All right,
offenses.
listen. You've gotten your reputation thrown into the gutter. You have to admit that. And the Trump campaign has tried to disavow you. You understand that. Naturally, I would too if I were them. This entire escapade has embarrassed the country. Do you feel at all guilty for giving these enemies of the president this kind of ammunition to use against him?
No, again, I feel guilty that I did not fight back to get the truth out there earlier. I think the beauty of the last couple of months since the House Intelligence Committee and others, Senate Judiciary Committee have started showing what the actual truth was, what really happened in terms of election interference by the U.S. government, operatives in Washington. That has done a lot to help set the record straight. And I think, as more information comes out,
so you wouldn't have changed any of your behavior leading up to the election?
I can't imagine anything that I could have done.
You were a FBI informant at one point. You were helping the FBI nail down some Russian operatives who were working inside the United States against this country. So in a way, you used to be a patriot, and now they opened up a surveillance probe into you like you were some Russian spy. How do you reconcile that?
Well, it actually ties into this spy case in the UK right now, right, where there's a lot of people taking steps or they're concerned that, there's people are attacking an individual, and, what's going to happen with the Russians, or what were they doing to sort of influence this situation? And I told them specifically, or what we've now learned is that, I'm sort of revealed as this individual sort of, helping the Western power. And so, who knows? I could have been at risk. But the funny thing about that is I never felt at risk, and I was never concerned about anything along those lines. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, people think you're a weird guy. I'm upset you're not wearing your famous hat. Maybe next time. Carter,
I look forward to it.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Jesse.
Up next,